Welcome to Core Finance. I'm joined this morning by Tim Harrison, who's the Head of Wealth at Linear. Morning to you, Tim.
Morning.
Let's kick off with some slides. Let's start with the market movers. All eyes on the ECB. That kicks off tomorrow. What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, everyone's suggesting that we're going to see Draghi try and talk down the euro. Obviously, we've seen significant strength in the euro of late, which is the whole market at the moment is very much a currency conundrum. You've got the dollar, you've got the euro really playing in against the sterling rate. So the market is suggesting that Draghi will try and talk down potentially the euro to try and bring a bit of weakness into the currency to try and keep things competitive across the globe. Obviously at the moment with the Eurozone, data is reasonably strong, which is, there's the caution, but we are on a tipping edge, so to speak. I think any real detriment, and you could see the Eurozone start to contract, which is obviously what they don't want to do. We have seen mumblings of that over in the US, raising rates, etc. It may have been to the detriment of the growth of the economy.
Understood. Let's talk about Wall Street. We had digests North Korea news, bank holiday Monday, lowest close for 3 weeks. A bit worrying.
Is it?
I don't know. You tell me.
If you look at the North Korea news as an individual point, obviously Kim Jong-un is gesticulating, one might suggest. What he's up to is very, very worrying, and if he were to really get a head of steam, then that is disaster potentially. Obviously, again with Donald Trump sort of going toe to toe with him, again a worrying situation. One would suggest that Donald Trump has lost a lot of his allies, close allies, over the last couple of months since he took up the premiership. So it would be a case of I think they've just got to calm Kim Jong-un down and keep very close eyes on him. And whether that's with embargoes or whatever, who knows?
Let's talk about hurricanes. A couple of headlines on Hurricane Irma in focus. We're going to come back to our core number later. Obviously, this is another factor that the markets have.
This is massive potentially. You've seen orange juice futures jump. Obviously, it's going towards Florida. Florida is a massive part of the orange manufacture growth area. But again, this is the biggest storm that we've seen for a number of years. It's one of the top 3 or 4 or 5 storms in the last 20, 30, 40 years. It is potentially very, very dangerous, bigger than Katrina. The insurers in the US got smashed yesterday on the back of this. So again, I think this is probably more for market sentiment. This is probably more dangerous than Kim Jong-un.
Understood. Let's move on to the FTSE stock one to watch today. Barclays Group. What are your thoughts there? Or Berkeley Group?
Well, property's been very much a key focus post-Brexit, pre-Brexit, post-Brexit, and where these developers and property companies go. Obviously, my view has been the London market is very much insulated to the rest of the market in some respects. Again, Barclays Group this morning highlighted the fact that the growth and the outlook for the company is slightly more tempered as a result of Brexit uncertainty, currency moves, etc., etc. But again, with Tony Pidgey, I think you've got a great guy running a company, really knows his onions, and I think they're well set. But again, they're off a couple of percent this morning, but they are up 40, 50% in the last 12 months.
Understood. Let's go to ASOS. Discover fashion online.
I'm sure.
Obviously, I know nothing about fashion.
Well, being a Crystal Palace fan, that goes without saying. No, I mean, obviously, over the last number of years, I've been a real champion of the shift from high street to online. ASOS has been the key player there. Obviously, you have got the upstarts, the likes of Boohoo, Matches Fashion, which is looking at raising money at IPO, etc. Ukes, Net-a-Porter. There is a lot more competition, but ASOS, they're up at 55, 56 quid. I mean, it's phenomenal growth. Yeah. It's a phenomenal company, still listed on the AIM market, which I find somewhat perplexing, given the limited liquidity versus being on the main market.
Yep.
But again, it's a company that, subject to no supply issues, I think looks very, very handsome.
It's worth noting there was a rumour about Marks and Spencer's leaving the flagship store in Covent Garden. So again, this online argument is quite powerful. Let's go to broker recommendations. Today we've got Deutsche Bank, Redrow, They're on a hold, changed the actual price targets. A couple of lines on Redrow.
Well, again, what you've got with Redrow is more of a Midlands to Northern-based property company, mass developer versus your Barclays Group, which is very much focused on London and the home counties. I think the lower to mid-tier developers still have a good growth opportunity, as there is such a demand for property. Obviously, your Barclays Groups are higher price points. Your Redrow are mass. And I just think these sorts of companies, again, very well run through the crisis and the last 12, 18 months. I think these sorts of companies are ones still to look at, subject to any weakness in the share price.
And so let's talk currencies. Put in there dollar yen. There's a number of videos we've done on this pair. 108 being a key chart point, a key area of support. And again, this is partly down to the geopolitical tensions. In terms of cable, 130.24. You wanted to say a few words on cable this morning? Again,
it's been. I mean, the Japanese yen, dollar yen has been. I mean, it's done very little, as you say, a level of support there with the dollar, with the cable rate 130. There was mutterings overnight in the US as regards to whether or not they have raised rates too quickly and whether it is really to the detriment of the economy, jobs, etc. I'm very much more of a UK bull. I think the UK is going to be in rude health over the next 3 to 5 years, and I personally believe that we are subject to any sort of market shocks. I think we could see sterling continue to strengthen. Again, I believe the Trump trade, if you like, the infrastructure, healthcare, etc., is all kind of falling away, which is what a lot of the dollar strength has been built on: optimism and future prospects. Without anything formative, I can only see sterling continue to strengthen or the dollar continue to weaken.
Understood. Core number, you chose this today, number 5.
Yeah, it's Storm 5 rating for Hurricane Irma.
Storm 5 rating.
Yeah, so again, this is, we revert back to the start of the programme with this hurricane. This is potentially huge. If it really does start to come on land, it should and will cause absolute devastation.
Right.
Obviously, Florida is a key area. You know, as I mentioned, the orange growers, and also it is where everyone goes to retire in the US. So it is dangerous. It's worrying, and you know, with it's one of the greatest or most dangerous hurricanes we've seen in 20, 30 years.
Right. And let's wrap up now with the economic calendar. In terms of the US today, we've got the market PMI composite, the ISM non-manufacturing. Merkel speaks. That's 3 weeks before the elections in Germany, and the Fed beige book at 7:10 in the US. Right, final thought. Have you got a final thought for the day?
Well, it's all about the cricket tomorrow, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Tim, thank you very much indeed.